Sometimes there's an assumption that once you hire a good GC that they're just going to figure everything out for you. But your contractor's job is to build the kitchen, and they need to know what they're building. Welcome to the Kitchen Remodel Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Robin Johnson, and I can't wait to chat with you about one of the most exciting topics ever. Kitchen design, right? I mean, who doesn't dream of remodeling their kitchen? Friends, if you're looking to up-level the most important room in your home, I am so glad you're here. As an award-winning designer of over 20 years, kitchens are my absolute favorite room in the house. With hundreds of decisions to be made and thousands of dollars on the line, you won't want to miss an episode. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you're planning a kitchen remodel, there's a pretty good chance that you've looked at your budget and wondered, do I really need to hire a general contractor? Maybe you've gotten a few estimates and you're looking at the contractor's fee or markup thinking, well, what if I just hired the plumber, the electrician, the cabinet installer, the painter, and everyone else myself? I mean, how hard could this really be? And more importantly, how much money could I be saving? So, wondering if you really need to hire a general contractor or not, it's a very fair question. After more than 20 years working in the kitchen design and renovation industry, I can tell you that I've seen projects handled both ways. I've worked on kitchens where a general contractor managed the entire construction process, and I've worked with homeowners who decided to hire and coordinate their own subcontractors. And both approaches can work, but they are very different remodeling experiences. So today I want to talk to you about what you're really deciding when you choose whether or not to hire a GC. I'm not going to give you a step-by-step lesson on how to manage your own kitchen remodel because that is a much larger conversation. Instead, I want to help you understand what a general contractor actually does, why you might consider eliminating that role, what you're taking on if you do, and some questions I'd want you to ask yourself before making that big decision. Because if the only question that you're really considering is how much money you can save, well, you're not asking yourself all the right questions. So to begin, let's talk about why you would even consider skipping the GC role. So the obvious reason we've already covered, money. Kitchen renovations are expensive. And once you've added cabinetry, countertops, appliances, plumbing, lighting, flooring, tile, labor, and all the other pieces of your project, you may start looking for places to cut costs. I get it. And one number that can really get your attention is the cost associated with having a general contractor manage the project. And that's when you might start thinking, well, gosh, I can call an electrician. I can hire the plumber. I already know who's going to install my cabinets. Maybe I can just coordinate this myself. And you absolutely may be able to, but there's an important distinction that I want you to understand. When you eliminate the general contractor, you don't eliminate the job of the general contractor. I'm going to repeat that. When you eliminate a general contractor, you do not eliminate the job of the general contractor. Someone still has to do that job, and that someone is now going to be you. So, what does a GC actually do? And I think this is where so many homeowners underestimate the value of a good GC and what they actually handle. So, let's talk about it. From the outside, it can look like the contractor simply hires a group of subs and then adds a fee on top. But managing a remodel actually involves way more than making a few phone calls. There are multiple trades involved in even a relatively straightforward kitchen renovation. You may have demolition, framing, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, drywall, flooring, cabinetry, countertops, tile, painting, appliances, and finished carpentry. And those people, they can't just show up whenever they're available. And trust me, most of them are busy. Their work has to happen in a certain sequence. And one part of the project often needs to be completed before the next can begin. And when something changes, and something almost always does, the schedule is going to have to change with it. And that is a challenge. A good GC is used to coordinating all of these moving parts. And they're also usually the person that everyone calls whenever there's a problem, which brings me to something that I think is also really important. You're not just taking on the schedule. If you decide to manage your own subs, you're not simply creating a calendar and putting people's name in the slots. You're now becoming that point person for your project. For example, let's say the electrician arrives and discovers something unexpected. Who gets the call? You. Let's say the plumber needs more information before completing rough-in. Who answers those questions? You. Let's say your cabinet installation gets pushed back and now it affects the countertop template. Who handles that? You. And let's say one sub decides not to show up on the day that you expect. And this is what happens all too frequently. So who figures out what happens next? You guess it, you do. And none of these examples automatically mean that you shouldn't manage your own project. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that some people are better at managing this process than others. They're organized, they're decisive, they communicate well, they have flexible schedules, and they're comfortable asking questions and solving problems, and may even enjoy the challenge. Other people discover about 3 weeks into construction that they have accidentally given themselves a second full-time job. And that is something that you need to really think about before deciding which route is right for you. Let's go back to the money for a minute, okay? Because yes, managing your own subs can potentially reduce some of the cost associated with hiring a GC. But I don't want you to look at that number in isolation. Your time also has a lot of value. How available are you during the day? Can you take a 10:30 call on a Tuesday morning because someone needs an answer right then? Can you leave work if something unexpected happens and is revealed during demolition and you need to be there to really see it with your own two eyes to understand it? Are you comfortable having difficult conversations if someone's work isn't what you expected? And perhaps most importantly, is this a role that you actually want to do? Because there's a big difference between being capable of managing people in a remodel and wanting to spend several months of your life actually doing it. For some people, the potential savings make that responsibility completely worthwhile. And for others, paying someone experienced to manage the construction is money very well spent. There is no right or wrong answer here, just important decisions for you to think about. Also, I'm going to mention your personality matters more than you think. How do you handle uncertainty? How do you react when plans change? Are you comfortable making decisions quickly? Are you organized? Do you follow up with people? Can you be assertive without being confrontational? And how much bandwidth do you realistically have right now in your life? If you're already working full time, you're raising children, you're caring for family members, you travel a lot, or you simply have a really busy life, adding project manager of a kitchen reno may be more than you can chew on. On the other hand, maybe you're very organized. You've managed construction projects before. You have trusted tradespeople and you genuinely like being involved. Well, that matters too. This isn't about whether you're qualified. This is about understanding what you're signing up for. Which brings me to my next point. And this is something that I want you to really think about as well. Regardless of whether you hire a GC or manage your subcontractors yourself, Your kitchen should be designed and planned long before demo day comes. If you're managing the project yourself, I would argue that this becomes even more important because you only have so much bandwidth. Construction is not the time to start deciding where your appliances go. It is not the time to figure out your cabinet layout. It's not the time to discover that your refrigerator requires a different opening. And it's also not the time to decide where you want your lighting or start researching that sink that you want. You want to have made all of those decisions before. You want to have the specifications with you, the measurements with you, and your plan. Because once construction begins, every unanswered question has the potential to stop work and hold up the entire project. Delays can have a real domino effect. And now for a quick message. Hey there, if you're planning a kitchen renovation in the next 3 to 12 months, I am so glad you're here. For less than the price of your new kitchen sink, you can purchase my simple step-by-step kitchen remodel made easy course to design, plan, and execute your project like a pro. And just for course purchasers, I even have a community that you can join if you want to ask me questions and have an extra set of eyes on your project. I'll link everything for you in the show notes below. Now, I will say that this is where a good, experienced GC really stands out. Sometimes there's an assumption that once you hire a good GC, that they're just going to figure everything out for you. But your contractor's job is to build the kitchen, and they need to know what they're building. A great contractor can absolutely help solve construction issues and punt, and they will. They will identify problems before they even happen. And an experienced contractor will bring tremendous value to your project. One of the biggest value adds is the established, trusted relationships that they have built with their subs year after year, project after project. And when you hire a reputable contractor of that quality, it can be the difference between hiring a well-oiled machine versus you starting from scratch and figuring everything out on your own. There's not a right or wrong answer here, as I keep saying. It's just a very different experience. In those scenarios, things can and will go wrong. It's how they're resolved and how quickly they are remedied that is the difference. Now, if you decide that you want to try hiring your own subcontractors, I want to make another distinction. Managing your own project doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be physically doing the work yourself in all aspects. There may be parts of your project that you want to take on, and then you may decide that you want to hire licensed professionals for plumbing and electrical, or you may have a professional cabinet installer in mind, and of course the countertop installer, things like that. But what you're eliminating still is the person that's coordinating all of those trades for you. So there's an important distinction between sometimes homeowners hear DIY remodel, I'm going to do this, and they, envision themselves swinging the hammer and having a blast. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hiring all of the different parts and pieces, all of the different professionals for your project, and you stepping into that general contractor role and owning it. Okay. So, what do I think? Should you be your own general contractor? Well, here's where I land. I think it depends on the size and scope of your project. I think if you have a simple renovation project and you have trades that maybe they're friends, maybe they're trusted people that you've worked with in the past, and it's a pretty simple, straightforward project, and you have pre-designed it and selected everything, I think you might can do it. I think you might can do it. It is a lot. If you have the time to do it and you're good at, you have a personality for it, you're good at communication, you're good at organization, all of that. Yeah, I think you can do it. And I think you can probably save a lot of money. There'll be some hiccups along the way. It will probably take you longer than it would someone who's done this for years, of course, but the potential savings that you may have might be really worth it for you. If your project is more complex, maybe you're moving walls, maybe you've got some structural issues, maybe you have an older home that you just don't know what you're going to find when you get in there and open up the walls, I think hiring an experienced GC is worth every penny. Um, Sometimes I think homeowners actually end up spending more money when they try and take projects on themselves because they have to pay, trades to come out and do things maybe 2 or 3 times to get it right. Maybe they are hustling, maybe they're out of time, and they just say, well, let's go ahead and get X, Y, and Z installed because that contractor's here, but then they can't do this part until another contractor comes in and it becomes kind of a blurry mess. So, like I said, you're paying certain people to come out and make 2 or 3 trips. I mean, it just depends on the complexity of your project and how organized you are, really. So, whether you hire a general contractor or not, please, please do yourself a favor and don't skip the planning stage. I've said this over and over on this podcast this year. I know how much easier construction is when the important decisions have already been made. And that is my whole philosophy behind why I created Kitchen Remodel Made Easy. I want you to walk into construction knowing what you're building and not figuring out what's happening or what you're going to be speccing while your kitchen is torn apart. Your contractor can build a beautiful kitchen and your subcontractors can execute beautiful work. But first, someone needs to create the plan that they're going to work from. And that is where you need to start. So in closing, if you are currently planning your kitchen remodel and debating whether you need a GC, don't make the decision based on one number on a proposal. Look at the entire job that you're going to be hiring someone to manage, or volunteer to manage that yourself, knowing what you're getting into. There are benefits to both approaches. The important thing is knowing which remodeling experience will work best for you. If you're still in the planning stages of your kitchen renovation and you're just getting started and you need help, make sure to grab my free kitchen design starter kit in the show notes below to get you started asking the important questions up front. And I'll see you next time on Kitchen Remodel Made Easy. Thanks for joining me. Friends, if you enjoyed today's podcast and you can't wait to hear more, please leave a rating review to help others find me. And if you didn't, well, don't worry about it. I'll be back soon for more kitchen design conversations.